My beloved brothers and sisters, if this message has reached you before November 5th, then I want you to know, you are standing at the edge of a divine appointment. You are not here by accident. You are not hearing this by coincidence. God's timing is never late, and His seasons are never mistaken. There is a reason this word has found you now, not a day later, not a moment sooner. Heaven has marked your name, and this message is a sign that something is about to shift in your life. You see, when God sends a message ahead of time, it means He is preparing your spirit for what He is about to unfold. This is not just a date. It is a spiritual boundary line. Before November 5, something unseen is aligning for you. Something that has been delayed is being released. When heaven congratulates you early, it means your breakthrough is already written, your victory already spoken in the courts of heaven. There are moments in life when timing is not just coincidence, but divine orchestration. If this message reaches you before November 5, consider it a sign that heaven has appointed this time for you. You may have been walking through seasons of waiting, uncertainty, or even silent tears, wondering if your prayers have reached beyond the ceiling of your room. But when divine timing begins to align, there are signals that begin to unfold in your path. Small confirmations that whisper, you are seen. This message is one of them. It may have crossed oceans, time zones, and algorithms, but it found its way to you before a set moment, because there are things that God prepares before time, and you are about to step into one. The calendar date is not accidental. It marks a shift. You see, there are people who live by luck, and there are those who live by appointment. Those who live by appointment understand that every divine encounter is preparation for manifestation. You have been in preparation. Every disappointment, every detour, every delay has been God's way of molding you, not punishing you. If you are reading this before November 5, heaven is announcing that your time of divine visitation has drawn near. There is a law in the spirit that everything that has been waiting in the invisible realm begins to move toward visibility at the appointed time. It's not your striving that will make it happen. It's alignment. That's why some people work tirelessly and see little, while others, in one divine moment, see years of labor answered in a single day. When God's appointed time meets a prepared heart, destiny accelerates. This is not about rushing into what's next. It's about being positioned to receive what has been waiting for you. You may feel you are not ready, but divine seasons are not about your readiness. They are about God's readiness. When heaven decides it is time, everything shifts. Circumstances, people, and even your own desires. You may find that the things that once felt heavy suddenly feel lighter. The burdens that once seemed endless begin to lift. That is because the appointed time carries grace. Grace to begin again. Grace to see clearly. Grace to rise without explanation. Before November 5th, there is something heaven wants you to understand. The delay was not denial, it was alignment. You were being aligned for what could not have fit into your life before. This moment is heaven's announcement that what you have been praying for is no longer in the waiting stage. It is in the revealing stage. The heavens are signaling that your season of preparation is transitioning into a season of manifestation. The battles you fought in secret were not wasted. They were proof that you were being fortified for the weight of glory that is about to rest upon your life. This message found you now because divine timing always finds its vessel. So, lift your eyes, wipe your tears. What you are about to see will make sense of what you have endured. You are not behind, you are right on schedule. The message came before November 5 because your breakthrough was already written into this moment before you ever knew to look for it. You have survived the season that was meant to break you, and that survival was not accidental. There are seasons when life feels like a relentless storm. Waves of uncertainty crashing one after another, winds of fear howling against your faith, and moments when the darkness seems to last longer than it should. You may have wondered if anyone saw the tears you cried in silence, or if heaven had gone quiet while you were fighting to stay afloat. But the truth is, every storm that came against you had permission only to shape you, not to destroy you. The very fact that you are still standing, still breathing, still holding on to hope is proof that the hand of the divine never left you. Many began the same battles but did not finish them. Yet you are here, not by luck or human strength, but because there was a purpose attached to your pain. What you faced was never random. It was refining you, stripping away the layers that kept you from walking in your true authority. You may have lost things, people, or opportunities, but you did not lose what mattered most. Your faith, your heart, your spirit. That is the mark of someone chosen for more. You survived not because you were stronger than the storm, but because the one who called you had already declared that you would reach the other side. Your survival is not a small thing. It is a prophetic sign that there is more waiting beyond what you see now. Often, before the dawn of a new season, life seems to collapse. Doors close, relationships shift, and familiar things fall apart. That is not the end. That is the birth pain of a new beginning. The breaking was necessary to remove the old foundations so that something eternal could be built in you. You see, when you prayed for strength, heaven did not hand you ease. It handed you endurance. When you prayed for faith, you were given situations that required you to believe without seeing. It was never punishment, it was preparation. You had to walk through that valley to discover that faith isn't built in comfort. It's forged in the fire of surrender. The nights when you felt most alone were the very moments heaven was nearest. Angels were not absent, they were guarding what you couldn't see yet. Every sleepless night, every tear-stained pillow, every moment you whispered, "I can't do this anymore," became part of the testimony that will one day strengthen others. You may not see it now, but there is a crown forming from the ashes of your endurance. What looked like loss was actually divine exchange. What was taken was temporal, but what was being planted in your spirit is eternal. So do not despise your scars. They are not symbols of defeat, but evidence of grace. Your survival means there is still work to be done through you. The story didn't end in your suffering. It only began there. Every experience, even the painful ones, has been weaving a narrative of glory, one that will make sense when the light breaks through. You are not defined by what tried to destroy you. You are defined by the purpose that kept you alive. Survival is not just endurance. It's a declaration that purpose is stronger than pain and destiny louder than despair. You have not come this far to stop here. The season that tried to crush you was only proving that you carry something that cannot be destroyed. The signs of your next chapter are already in motion. You are being positioned for revelation. Sometimes before a new season fully begins, the atmosphere around you starts to shift. You may not understand it at first. People drift away. Familiar paths close. Opportunities that once looked promising suddenly vanish. It feels unsettling, as if the ground beneath your feet is moving. But that is how divine alignment often begins. What seems like loss is actually redirection. What feels like confusion is often preparation for clarity. There are invisible movements happening on your behalf, doors being adjusted in the unseen so that you will walk into what was always meant to be yours. The divine never wastes time. Even in stillness, there is strategy. When heaven is preparing to reveal something new, it first makes space for it. And so, things are being removed, not to leave you empty, but to create capacity for what is greater. You may have noticed certain restlessness within your spirit lately. A quiet pull that tells you change is near. That's not anxiety, it's awakening. Your soul can sense what your eyes cannot yet see. Like the first tremors before dawn, these internal stirrings are signs that your waiting is ending. You are being repositioned, not by accident, but by divine choreography. Sometimes this shift feels uncomfortable because you are being stretched beyond the limits of what once felt safe. But understand this. Revelation cannot come in familiar places. The next chapter of your life requires new ground, new people, and new levels of faith. What sustained you in the last season will not be enough for the one ahead. That is why heaven is rearranging things now, so that you may receive what you have prayed for without being crushed by it. There are moments when heaven gives small confirmations, subtle signs that whisper, "You're closer than you think." Maybe it's an unexpected word that resonates with your spirit, a sudden peace after a long period of unrest, or an opportunity that seems perfectly timed. These are not coincidences. They are divine signals that the script of your life is turning a page. The things you've endured have not been in vain. They've been rehearsals for revelation. Every unanswered prayer, every test of patience, every closed door was shaping your perception so that when the revelation arrives, you will recognize it, not resist it. There is also a spiritual order to timing. Before manifestation comes illumination. Heaven begins to open your eyes to things you couldn't see before. You will begin to discern purpose in the very places you once felt pain. People will return to your life not for comfort, but for completion of unfinished purposes. Even delays that once frustrated you will begin to make sense as you realize they protected you from premature exposure. Revelation always comes with understanding. It redeems the years that confusion tried to steal. So if lately you felt disconnected from your old routines, if your spirit feels stirred but your mind doesn't yet know why, don't resist it. That's the sign. You are standing on the threshold of something divinely appointed. The next chapter is not being written by your effort but by divine direction. It's already unfolding around you. In the whispers of intuition, in the alignment of timing, in the quiet peace that tells you something new is near. Heaven does not move randomly, it moves with precision. And right now, every shift, every silence, every sudden change is working together to position you for revelation. You are not being lost, you are being led. What seemed silent was not absence, it was divine preparation working in unseen ways. There are seasons when heaven grows quiet, when prayers echo back unanswered, and when faith feels like holding on to the edge of something invisible. You wait, you plead, you ask, and still the silence remains. But silence is not abandonment, it is strategy. It is the space where heaven rearranges the unseen to align with your destiny. When it felt like nothing was happening, everything was happening, just not where you could see it. In the stillness, roots were growing beneath the surface, foundations were being laid, and what was being built in the dark was preparing to hold the weight of what you've prayed for. The divine does not rush construction. It perfects it. You see, in every promise there is a process, and that process often hides itself in silence. When you cannot trace his hand, you are invited to trust his heart. The silence was your training ground. It stripped away your dependence on outcomes and replaced it with reliance on faith. It taught you that real strength is not loud, it's consistent. It showed you that prayer is not always about words, it's about endurance. You are not being ignored, you are being matured. Heaven knows that if blessings come too early, they become burdens. So before you were given what you asked for, you were molded into someone who could sustain it. Every delay was not a denial, it was preparation in disguise. The unanswered prayers were not wasted. They were transformed into unseen answers, shaping your path toward the right moment, the right connection, the right door. Think of a seed buried in the soil. To the world above, it looks forgotten, lost, or even dead. But beneath the ground, something sacred is happening. The darkness is not its end, it is its beginning. It is in that hidden place that the seed breaks, that life begins to form. You too were planted in silence. The hiddenness was not punishment, it was preservation. The divine was keeping you away from premature exposure, from environments that could not nurture what you carried. Sometimes, to protect your purpose, heaven hides you, and while others are celebrated publicly, you are being prepared privately. But when the season shifts, what was hidden will emerge stronger, purer, and unshakable. Silence also reveals motives. When the answers don't come quickly, we learn who we really are when nothing seems to work. The silence tested your faith, refined your heart, and purified your vision. It separated what was merely emotional from what was eternal. You learned that faith is not proven by outcomes but by persistence. Heaven's quiet moments became your classroom, where you learned to listen not with your ears, but with your spirit. And now, because you learned to trust in silence, you will be able to stand in the noise. So, if you look back and remember the nights when you thought you were forgotten, know this. The silence was a holy space. It was where the divine was writing your story, line by line, in invisible ink. It was never absence. It was incubation. What was forming in the unseen is now nearing its unveiling. The silence was not the end. It was the soil of your becoming. You were not being ignored. You were being anointed in the quiet. Every delay carried instruction, and every pain carried purpose, waiting for its appointed unveiling. Nothing you have gone through has been wasted, not a single tear, not a single disappointment. Each delay was not just an interruption, it was a message. Sometimes, when you ask for growth, heaven does not send ease, it sends delay. Because delay is the teacher of depth. It trains you to wait without losing faith, to believe without seeing, and to remain steadfast when everything in you wants to quit. Every not yet was heaven's way of saying, I am still preparing something greater. The world sees delay as denial, but heaven calls it development. You were being refined in ways you could not perceive. While you were asking for answers, heaven was sculpting your character. While you were focused on timing, heaven was focused on readiness. What you called waiting, heaven called training. In every moment of pain, there was a divine message hidden beneath the ache. Pain is often the most honest instructor. It reveals where our trust truly lies. It exposes what we depend on, what we idolize, what we fear losing. You may not have realized it, but your pain was purging you. It was cleansing your heart of attachments that could not survive in your next chapter. It was separating you from the noise so that you could hear the still, small voice again. Every heartbreak, every failure, every unanswered question was carving space within you for something new, something holy. You see, purpose rarely grows in comfort. It blooms in contradiction. The very things you wished away were the very tools heaven used to shape your destiny. Delays are often the pause between the prayer and the promise, a sacred interval where faith is refined. During that pause, you learned endurance, humility, and the quiet art of trust. You discovered that what you wanted was not always what you needed. You learned that sometimes the door that stays closed is divine mercy, not rejection. You began to realize that what you thought was being withheld was actually being perfected. There are blessings so significant that they require precise timing. If they came too soon, they would overwhelm you. Too late, and you might give up. But heaven's timing is never off. It is divinely exact. The delay was not a mistake. It was synchronization with a greater plan. Even your pain had rhythm. The tears you shed were watering seeds that have yet to break through the soil. The struggles that humbled you were forging the strength you will soon need. There is a purpose that pain teaches that comfort never could. It awakens compassion. It refines focus. It builds empathy. It reminds you that without brokenness there can be no breakthrough. Heaven never wastes suffering. It transforms it. You may not understand it in the moment, but when revelation comes, you will see that every delay was a disguised blessing, and every pain a hidden prophecy. When heaven writes your story, it never erases the hard chapters, it redeems them. The waiting made you wiser, the pain made you purer, the silence made you stronger, the detours made you deeper. Each one carried instruction, shaping you into the vessel capable of carrying the glory that's about to come. The things that once wounded you will soon become your wisdom. The things that once broke you will become your bridge to others. Nothing was wasted. Every delay was a lesson. Every pain a prophecy, and both were waiting for the same thing, your appointed unveiling. The time before November 5th is not ordinary. It is a prophetic marking of divine transition and release. There are moments on heaven's calendar when time itself bends toward purpose, when ordinary days become thresholds of destiny. Before such moments, the air feels different, the heart stirs in unfamiliar ways, and the soul senses a quiet urgency that cannot be explained. If you are standing in this moment before November 5, you are standing on sacred ground. This is not just another date. It is a signal in the spirit. The seasons around you are shifting, and heaven is aligning events to fulfill promises that once seemed distant. You may not see the full picture, but you can feel the pull. It is the gentle tug of divine timing drawing you into alignment with what has already been written for your life. Before every great unveiling, there is a moment of divine stillness, a breath between what was and what will be. That is where you are now. The heavens are pregnant with purpose, and your spirit can feel it. The weariness you've been carrying is not just fatigue, it's the stretching that comes before birth. The confusion that has clouded your path was not meant to destroy you. It was meant to empty you of what no longer fits where you're going. You are being invited into transition, not through striving, but through surrender. This moment before November 5th is not about chasing what's next. It's about receiving what's been prepared. The divine does not need your anxiety. It needs your agreement. Transitions are holy disruptions. They tear away the old so that the new can emerge. That's why things have been shifting unexpectedly. Relationships changing, doors closing, emotions surfacing. It's not chaos, it's divine reordering. Heaven is making room for release. You've carried things that were necessary for your wilderness, but not for your promise. The weight you feel now is not punishment. It's the shedding of what cannot cross over with you. There are blessings that cannot come until you let go of burdens you were never meant to carry. The time before November 5 is heaven's way of saying, get ready, make room. There are patterns in divine timing, moments when the spiritual realm and the natural world align to produce acceleration. You've waited long, you've trusted through tears, and now the clock of heaven is about to strike. The signs will begin to unfold not through noise but through peace. Opportunities that once seemed far will start to find you. People who carry keys to your next level will appear without striving. Dreams that lay dormant will awaken with new life. It will not be forced, it will flow. Because when the appointed time comes, grace does the work that effort could not. Before November 5, heaven is testing your readiness, not by your strength, but by your surrender. The divine transition requires open hands, a yielded heart, and faith that trusts even without full understanding. You may feel the tension between endings and beginnings, but that tension is sacred. It means transformation is near. The ground beneath you is shifting because the roots of your old season are loosening. You are being repositioned for release. This time is a threshold. Once crossed, nothing will remain the same. What you lost will make sense. What was hidden will be revealed. What was delayed will suddenly accelerate. The atmosphere around you is carrying prophetic weight. Something is being released into your path that eyes have not seen and ears have not heard. Before November 5, heaven whispers, prepare. The waiting is almost over. The transition is not coming. It has already begun.